always a pleasure to have you in the studio. At last, the sun comes through the clouds. Some good news for British households at long last and feeling the pain of bills for way too long.
It is good news, but we have to put this in context. That's what I'm here to do, right? To tell you about the real details behind the glib headlines that we hear exclusively from other broadcasters, but not here on GB News. So let's just recap some of what you said there, Martin. This is the Ofgem energy price cap. They're the energy regulator. This is the cap on the average household's average bill, given average usage for combined gas and electricity. So it doesn't mean you won't pay more for your electricity if you use more electricity. It means that average use household, their bill will fall. And the bill falls from £1,928 a year equivalent to £1,690. That's from April the 1st. And that's a drop of about 12%. Well, that's equivalent to about 20 quid a month. So 3 or 4 pints in a pub, depending on where you live. Maybe 4 or 5 pints, 5 or 6 pints in some better priced parts of the UK. That cap, though, it's still 50% higher than it was before Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, so 2 years ago, pretty much to the day. That's what we're comparing it to. Electricity prices, gas prices in this country are still very, very high. And on top of that, the energy providers, they've managed to wrestle a special permission out of Ofcom that they can charge us £2.33 each a month on average per household to address their so-called debt backlog. The debt backlog that they claim is the debt backlog of customers, right? So where the customers allow electricity companies money. I must say, Martin, when I talk to friends and family in the local pub and so on, I hear a lot more stories about electricity companies owing customers money. They got £2,000 of my money and they won't give it back to me, and I've phoned them 100 times and spent 20 minutes on hold every time, rather than electricity companies subbing customers. So maybe my anecdotal evidence is wrong. I'm prepared to accept that it is, but I haven't seen data on that I can find anywhere, and I've looked. But it does strike me as a bit odd that without any kind of debate and completely blindsiding us, Ofgem has agreed to allow electricity companies to charge all of us more in order to try and tackle a debt backlog, which they claim is with customers rather than with the energy providers themselves.
Are we looking at a satisfying long-term downward chug, as we're hoping, with interest rates, or, as you keep pointing out, Liam, precarious world events such as the Middle East could put a wrecking ball through the good news anyway? Well,
you'll remember, as a student of politics, Martin, roughly the same vintage as me. I mean, we followed American politics closely in the 90s, didn't we? Because it was so exciting with Clinton and Bush 1 and Bush 2 and crikey, off the back of Reagan, we're about to go into another very interesting period in American politics, shall we say. But there was that phrase from the 1990s, Bill Clinton's economic advisor, James Carville, who said to his campaign staff, it's the economy, stupid. Just keep talking about the economy, because that's what people really care about. Well, it is the economy, stupid, in this coming election this autumn when it's expected, but it's also the geopolitics, stupid. It is Russia, Ukraine. It is Palestine, Israel. It is, China, Taiwan. It is tensions in the Pacific. It is, can container ships get through the Suez Canal, or are those container ships going to keep being taken out by Iranian-backed Houthi rebels who've been down to, the local department store in London and sent drones to their cousins on the Horn of Africa and in Yemen, as it were. So this geopolitics, world events will determine wholesale prices of gas. Now, the reason this Ofgem energy price cap has come down now is because we've had 2 successive, relatively mild winters in Europe. So gas usage has been relatively low since Russia invaded Ukraine, which is just historically advantageous for energy importers like the UK. Another reason is because we've had loads of liquefied natural gas exported from America to Europe. America's become the largest exporter of liquefied natural gas in the world in the last couple of years, even overtaking Qatar and the other Middle Eastern gas exporting giants, not least because the war in Ukraine has meant that Western Europe has wanted to wean itself off Russian gas. If that pattern continues, if wholesale gas prices continue continue to stay relatively benign. They're still a lot higher than they were before Russia invaded Ukraine, and they've come down a lot more, by the way, than this Ofgem energy price cap has come down. But if the relatively benign picture on global financial markets, particularly wholesale gas prices, we get 40% of our electricity from gas-fired power stations, the gas price, the spot price of gas determines the spot price of electricity in this country. And so a lot of it depends on geopolitics, the price of gas, whether or not this time next year there'll be a further reduction in the Ofgem energy price cap. There might be, but there might not be.
Liam Halligan, as ever, expert analysis, always on the money. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing your expertise. Now